Hi, fourth grade, welcome back. Today we are on Module 1, Lesson 11, and we're going to be working on addition today. So we are in Topic D, which talks about multi-digit whole number addition. So today we are going to use place value to fluently add multi-digit whole numbers using the standard algorithm, which is just a fancy word for exactly how you have probably learned to add up and down, and then apply this algorithm to solve word problems using tape diagrams. You're going to want to be able to add so you can do everyday life items, including adding money, adding supplies, and you're going to need it for lots of future math items. You're going to know you're going to be successful when you can accurately add multiple digit numbers and then apply this knowledge in the future. And here we go. We're going to start here. So we're going to add renaming, and then we're going to put the numbers in our place value with discs, and then we're going to go ahead and solve the standard algorithm as well. So we are adding 3,134 plus 2,493. The very first thing I'm going to do is put this in our tape diagram. So we have 3,134, and we are adding 2,493. Now, with addition, you're trying to find the total, the whole, the entire amount. So truthfully, what you would do is draw something like this, and then this is going to be your variable. Now, a variable can be a question mark, it can be a box, it can be a letter. It's really just a nice fancy word for saying that it is the unknown. So it doesn't matter what this represents. I just put an A for the variable, but any of those count. Now what I'm going to show you is how to use discs when you're adding with your place value charts. So I'm going to start with my 4 dots, and then I'm going to do this entire number first. Then I have 3 in the tens place, 1 in the hundreds place, and 3 in the thousands. Now from here, I'm going to change the color just so you can see. I'm going to do this number here. So I have 3 in the ones place. I have a 9 in the tens place. 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9. I have 4 in the hundreds and 2 in the thousands. Now, the rule of thumb is that if you ever have 10 of anything in one category, you're going to cash it in to the next category. We can't have any more than 9 in a category. So right here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is going to be our answer here, because if we add 4 plus 3, we can get 7. Now we're in our tens, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to group that set of 10 and move it over one place value to our hundreds, because we can't have 10. You can't have more than 10 in a category. I'm left with 2 because we cashed in those other 10 over here. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hundreds, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thousands. That brings us to a total of 5,627. You can do the standard algorithm just by going up and down. So we have 4 plus 3, which is 7, and you have 3 plus 9, which is 12. Now, what you probably know is the rule is you're going to leave the place value that's in the ones and carry whatever's in the tens. What we did here is the same thing as what we did here when we cashed in that 1 over here in the hundreds. That's why we gain a 1 over here in the hundreds place value. So then we can add 1 plus 1 plus 4. We get 6. And then 3 plus 2 is 5. So your answer here would be 5,627. And you could add that to your tape diagram here if I were to go back in and rewrite that there. So we were able to write it out and draw it out. If this was a word problem, I would expect you to write it as a statement as well. So we are going to continue to another problem. So same thing here. I'm going to start with drawing our tape diagram because we're adding. And so when we're adding, both of our numbers are going to be here in our tape diagram. One side's going to be a little bit bigger because 40,000 is greater than 30,000. So I'm going to write 40,762 on this side. And we're going to add 30,473. we're solving for this question mark up here. We're wanting to find out what is the total of these two numbers added together. So again, I'm going to start and I'm going to do my dots again for these numbers, and then we will cache them in, and then we'll do the standard algorithm after. So for 40,762, I have 2 in the ones. I have 6 in the tens place value. So 60, 4, 5, 6, 700. I have nothing in the thousands, so I'm going to leave that blank. And then I have 4 10,000s, or I have 40,000. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to change my color again just so you can see the new number that we're adding. So I'm going to go to this number here, and I have 3 in the ones. I have 7 tens here. I have 4 hundreds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, nothing in the thousands. And then I have a 3 in the 10,000s. So now I can go through and I can actually add these up and find out my total. So my 2 plus my 3, I have 5 ones. In my tens, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, always with 10 in any column, you're going to take them, you're going to cache them in the next place value. So I'm left with 1, 2, 3. Here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the same thing happens. If I have 10 again in this column, I take it and I cache it in over here for 1,000. I'm left with my 200s here. I have 1,000, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, comma. That always goes right here on the thousands. The biggest thing with addition is to make sure you're lining up your ones place value. That's where I see the biggest mistakes happening in 4th grade with these big numbers, is that you guys want to line them up on the left side, but that's not what we do. We have to line them up in the ones and then line everything up that way. Your commas should always line up. So then going back to the standard algorithm, I could do just what I did with the dots here. So 2 plus 3 is 5. 7 plus 6 is 13, so that's why my 3 is here, and I carry my 1. Again, that's exactly what we did here when we cached it in. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I drop my 2. Again, cache in my 1, just like we did here. So 1 plus 0 is 1, and 4 plus 3 is 7. Because your commas are here, you line them up, and you should get the same answer. The only reason that we show the dots, that we do the dots, is for students. That way you guys can understand why we actually cache that in, or why we carry over to the next place value. It's not just this random algorithm as something that we do. This is the reason why we can't have 10 in a category. So that's why we cache them in. Okay, this one, they don't give us the place value charts anymore. You're always welcome to go in and draw your own place value chart, but if not, we know how to do a standard algorithm now. So I'm going to put this in my tape diagram here. So 207,000 is a lot greater, so I'm going to give it a bigger section. So 207,426. And on this side, we are adding 128,744. I'm going to solve for B. Again, it doesn't matter. We're just solving. Could be a question mark, a box, anything else. Okay, so now we're here. We're going to use the standard algorithm to solve. So always start in your ones place value. So 6 plus 4 is 10. So we drop the one that's in the ones place, carry over our 1. 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 7 plus 4 is 11, carry my 1. 7 plus 8 is 15, plus 1 is 16. So I can leave my 6, cache in my 1. 2 plus 0 is 2, plus 1 is 3. And 2 plus 1 is 3. My commas are here, so I'm going to line this up. And so my answer is 336,170. And that's what B is. That would be our answer. That's what we're finding just by adding those two up. Okay, our last problem that we're going to do is a one-step word problem, and we're going to use the standard algorithm modeled with a tape diagram. So make sure here we're going through our RDW process of read, draw, and write. So first we're going to read the problem very carefully to find out what we're wanting to do. The Lane family took a road trip. During the first week, they drove 907 miles. The second week, they drove the same amount as the first week, plus an additional 297 miles. How many miles did they drive during the second week? Okay, I'm going to go through and underline some of the important things that we need to know. So during the first week, we know that they drove 907 miles. Okay, but in the second week, they drove the same plus 297 miles. Now, something that's very, very careful, and you have to make sure you're answering the right thing, is it only asks how many miles did they drive during the second week? Well, how many miles tells us that we're going to be adding, but we need to make sure we know what we're adding. So I'm going to come down here, and I'm actually going to add on to this tape diagram. So I'm going to show this as week 1, and this part as week 2. The things that we do know is that we drove how many? 907 miles in week 1. Okay, so 907 first week. Now, the second week, they drove the same amount of miles as the first week. Okay, so that means we know for sure that they drove 907 miles again. It says plus an additional 297 miles. Okay, so how many miles did they drive during the second week? We only want to find out the second week and not the full out of both of the weeks combined. So this shows us here we're going to add 907 plus our 297. Now, when I check this, my ones are lined up, my tens are lined up, and my hundreds are lined up, meaning then I can go ahead and add them. So 7 plus 7 is 14. I'm going to leave my 4 down here. I'm going to cash in my 1. 1 plus 0 is still 1, plus my 9 is 10. So I'm going to leave my 0, cash in my 1. 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So it's the same as if we have a 2 down here. We could cash it in, but we have nothing in this place value. So I'm going to go ahead and write it here. I can always go 1, 2, 3, and know that this is where my comma goes. So my answer is 1,204. So I was able to read it, get out the important information. I drew it in a tape diagram, but now I need to write it. So I'm very picky about this with my students. When you have your answer, it's not just 1,204. 1,204 hamburgers, horses, we don't know. So we take the question and we put it back into an answer. We call it a statement. How many miles did they drive during the second week? Well, we would answer, they drove, and we take our answer, 1,204 miles during the second week. This is important for you to double check what the question was asking, but then also making sure that your teacher knows exactly what you're answering. Okay, from here, you're going to move on to the exit ticket. If you guys always prefer to use the dots, feel free to draw in your place value charts to help you cash in those tens, put them in the next category, and then make sure you do the RDW process for this word problem down here. So thank you guys. Let me know if you have any questions.